Welcome to Colella's Supermarket. We're here in the cafe to meet with Danahy today, where she's been minding the store for the past 42 years. Hi Dale, thank you for meeting with me today for Meet Your Neighbor. We're here in your store in Colella's at the cafe. Last time I was here that I remember in particular, it was Super Bowl time. And there were people all about getting their snacks for Super Bowl, and I was wondering, did you notice that to be a particularly spirited day here?
Definitely. Anytime there's a guy holiday, we call them, but a lot more women are watching football now, but it's always busy, and especially with Patriots being in it this year, it was extremely fun and busy.
Mm-hmm. All day through.
All week through. Mm-hmm. The hype on the news was fantastic, and rightly so. For the Patriots to be in it again is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to hear. It was happening here as the part of the tailgate party. Colella's perhaps getting the necessary snacks.
Exactly.
Do you think that Hopkinton community has a lot of spirit in general?
Definitely. I think Halloween is a good time. We dress up. Customers come in dressed up, their children come in dressed up. We love to get into the spirit of whatever event is going on, Valentine's Day, Easter, whatever we can find a theme, we love to participate, and the town does as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. I was wondering if you could start us off with a little story about how many years have you been working here at Colella's?
I've been here 42 years.
42 years.
Just a little more than that, yep.
That's quite a stretch of time.
I've enjoyed it. You know, I love coming to work. The day I don't will probably be the day I retire, but I don't foresee that. I figure I'll be here at least hands-on another 10 or 15 years and probably not retiring for 20 more.
Wow. So I was thinking about that amount of time, and if any particular story comes to mind to you, being in the store, something that happened at some point that was funny or inspirational or challenging, that's always stayed with you and been a significant memory over time.
I think probably the blizzard of '78 was the most memorable. It was a time when the roads were shut down. There was a state of emergency in Hopkinton, and people were stranded. The fire department had to feed, I'm not sure, 20 or 30 people they had pulled out of cars on Route 9. They were looking for food. It was a raging blizzard that nobody really predicted or expected to be as bad as it was. And we closed for a couple of days, which was unheard of. My father was on vacation at the time. We had to call him up and say, "Dad, we're closed." And he was beside himself. You can't close. How can you close? People are dependent on you. And just to tell him the facts that the roads were closed, they were impassable. I actually came up and opened the store by snowmobile.
Wow.
So the fire department and the police department could feed people that were at the stations. And it was fun. It was a great time where neighbors helped each other. They came down by sled. The only vehicles on the road were food trucks, and it didn't matter if it was a potato chip truck or a grocery truck. They let them in, they escorted them in. Our shelves were bare until deliveries came in.
Wow.
The banks were all closed, and we became the bank for all the businesses that started to open during the week. And it was just a fun time that you probably won't ever live through again, once a year, once in a lifetime event. And people came to each other's aid. It was neat. It was very memorable.
That is a great, important memory to have about the community and your role in it at the time. I'm sure you were very young back then, and to have that situation, I think a lot of people might look at it more as a time of trouble and potential chaos, or you know, with everything shutting down. But
it could have been, but I think people came to each other's aid, and the town was awesome in opening up the roads as quickly as they could. And,
that's good to know.
Yeah,
it is an important memory to have over time.
Yep.
So I was also wondering, what are some of the challenges over these 42 years that you deal with and work here? at
I think
Colella's?
trying to meet the needs of customers, they change over the years. People are more in tune to organic or freshly grown. Back years ago, we used to grow a lot of the produce here. My parents grew up on a 100-acre farm. My father would grow the produce. Now trying to find local produce is a challenge, but there are some good farms still in the neighboring towns that we can rely on, and in Hopkinton. But meeting the needs of the customers can be difficult sometimes, and trying to keep good employees, I think, is always a challenge. I know unemployment is double digit or a high 9%, and still finding the right employee that wants to stay with you, it can be difficult. Not too many people say, I want to work at a grocery store when I grow up. So it's not a huge career, but once you find somebody and you can keep a good employee, it's well worth the time invested.
That's good to hear. What do you find from your work that helps with morale and motivation in working here?
We have some incentive plans. So if you've worked 15 years, we offer a bonus check. If you work 20 years, it increases. So every 5-year increment after 15 years, we will make it worth your while.
No, that's good. And how about some of the joys?
We've had a lot of marriages. We've had a lot of kids in high school and college get married. I see their children now.
Do you mean people meet in Colella's and get married?
Employees. We've had, I think, 11 weddings over the years. And it's sweet. Yeah, and they've all stayed together except, I think, one. So it's nice to know, that it's a good meeting place for employees and customers.
No, that might be another perk for advertising employment. Who knows? Now, how about life outside of the store? How long have you lived in Hopkinton? All your
life?
My
whole life, yeah. I'm a third generation, in my father's family. And my mother, same thing, third generation on her side. They both went through the Hopkinton High School system. And my children have as well. So I have 3 children, 4th generation.
Wow. And you grew up with brothers and sisters?
I have 5 sisters, no brothers. My father was blessed. We used to remind him constantly how it was to have the women take care of him in the family.
And what did the women have to do in their childhood to pitch in the family involved in this business here?
Yeah, we've all worked here at one time or other. And we grew up on a farm, so we had 13 acres of apples, peaches, plums, nectarines, and we were all expected to pick the fruit. And you could guarantee the hottest day of the year would be the day you picked peaches. And you'd be itching away, but you had to do it. And when the fruit was ready, you had to be there to pick it. So, and then from there, we also had corn, green beans, tomatoes, a lot of vegetables that we grew. So you were expected to work from the age of 10 on, and we did, and enjoyed it. We used to sell the fruit at a stand right at the end of the driveway. We grew up on Hayden Row, and a lot of memories, a lot of good memories.
What made the work go by fastest or was most enjoyable in those days of picking fruit?
I think the best days were Sunday when my mother would cook a turkey and feed everybody, because there'd be a lot of workers from the town that would come in and help, high school kids, college kids, and just getting together and eating a big dinner and then going back out in the fields and doing more picking. Or there was supposed to be a storm coming. A hurricane was always predicted, and you'd have to hurry and try to pick all the apples.
Wow.
It's just the fun challenges of nature.
So you've seen a lot. You're just mentioning in a few minutes here, you've seen a lot of changes of nature when you've been living off the land.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
have stayed with you as well. Wow. How would you say that you have seen the town change from starting in childhood, growing up here in Hopkinton on a farm, and now?
Well, definitely the population has changed. I think when I was growing up there was about 3,500 people that lived in town. Today there's over 15,000. I had 104 kids in my class, and we knew every kid. You knew every single person in high school, whether you were a senior or a 9th grader. You knew everybody. So if you ever got into trouble before you got home, there was always a phone call to your parents, and they would know exactly what you did before you walked through those doors. So it takes a village to bring up a child, and definitely everybody looked out for each other. So good or bad, news traveled quickly in the town.
Personally speaking, did you get one of those calls?
No, I was always good.
Not as an expose, just curious. It does sound like there was a close network of classmates as well as communication between school and parents going on.
Oh, definitely. My parents would always say, feel free to hit her if she does anything wrong.
And they would say that to
the teachers.
To the teachers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, things have changed since then.
You can't do that today.
No. So in thinking about the town changing over time, what do you hope that the town holds on to, even though we're changing? And
well, the sense of community, the neighbors help each other. It was definitely a farming community. We had 100 acres, Terry's had a couple hundred acres. There were farms in town, and if somebody's barn burned down, everybody would pitch in and build a new one. In fact, I think they did that to the Kalala farm once. It was hit by lightning. So the sense of community where neighbors help each other, I would love to see that continue, because it still is a very strong town community-wise, neighbors helping neighbors, or knowing neighbors. You did know every single person in town. I knew every person that walked through the doors of the supermarket growing up. It's harder to know everybody.
15,000
people.
And any ideas what can keep that kind of momentum going for
Well, I think
tightness?
church, there's organizations in town, the Lions Club, the Girl Scouting, Boys and Girls Scouting. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways that kids can stay as friends. Sporting, definitely, and if they build a youth hockey arena, just having more things to keep kids in town would be very helpful. A teen center would be awesome.
That sounds good. How about yourself? Back in time, you were a hard worker starting at the age of 10. How about in your free time? What did you like to do as a child? For play
sports.
Fun? You played a lot of sports.
Yeah, in high school I played basketball, softball, and field hockey. So you went from one season to the next and have a week off in between. And I loved it. In fact, I was still playing softball up until about 5 years ago on the team that the Parks and Rec used to have. And we since decided that it's safer to bowl, so now our team bowls. Still gets together and has a good time and enjoys each other's company.
So the team shifted from softball over to bowling.
Yes.
That does sound like a good
Safer.
idea. Yes. So you liked sports as a child. How about in your days of school? What do you think is the best thing you ever learned from the Hopkinton schools? So, was it a subject or was it a particular
I
value?
loved English. We had some awesome teachers. In fact, my children had some of the teachers that I had going through school. Mr. Davis used to take us to his house on Reserve Street, I think it was. My biology teacher, we watched a sheep being born one day. Just the little field trips that your teachers would take you on. Miss Harris took us down to the Golden Pond, and we went ice skating after school. Just the fun
whole class?
Yep. We used to have a winter carnival at the country club, and go sliding. Just the fun memories of enjoying kids' company, each other's company.
Oh, that sounds great. And another, again, coming back to community,
And you could do it locally. You didn't have to leave town. We had our junior prom at the high school, decorated it all up, and it was a blast. So the town offers a lot, and people just have to realize you don't have to be in front of a computer to enjoy yourself. Go out, go sliding, ice skating, just the fun stuff we did as a kid. Inexpensive. Pick up a softball game in the backyard in the neighborhood.
Well said. That's good advice. And you mentioned a few teachers. Is there any particular person you would identify as a mentor in your life and all the different things that you have done?
Yeah, I would say Mr. Clapp was an English teacher that was a big influence, and Mr. Barnes, who actually became the high school principal a few years ago. He retired, but very influential. You know, good values, study hard, taught you how to read and write, spelling, some of the things that we neglect because of spell check on computers, but we participated in the spelling bee. We haven't won yet, but just the values of everyday reading, arithmetic, I think they're very important, and we had some awesome teachers growing up.
Well, it sounds that way. And how about what happened after high school in your life for you? What happened next?
I went to Framingham State College, which is now Framingham State University. I got a degree in economics. From there, I went to Babson for my MBA. I didn't finish. I was 3 courses short and got married, and felt that the business sense that I got from my father was more than what I needed, enough, not more, but it was better than book. So.
And did you find that to be true?
Yes, he taught me a lot. Very smart man for a non-college educated, self-made man. So I learned a lot.
And did he mentor you so that you took on his work at some point?
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to go to Framingham State to be a teacher, and somewhere along the line it was kind of decided that I was going to work here. And I was fine with that, actually. I've enjoyed every bit of my work here. It would be nice to have the summers off, but it's also nice owning your own business and having time off as you need to have time off, or work longer days. But at the end of the day, it's yours, and that means a lot.
And when you have some time off, I know the other important part of your life is what happens at home with your family. You have 3 children, and you live nearby in Hopkinton.
Yep. In fact, my son just bought a house in Hopkinton, and always wanted to live in Hopkinton, and I'm glad that he can.
How old's your son?
27. So, and my daughter still lives at home, and my youngest is in college. Looking forward to graduating and getting a job in his field.
Wow. And so the generations continue to stay connected in your family and nearby with this part of this community also. So that is nice to hear as well. And how about for yourself in whatever is your spare time? How do you like to spend that? If you have any hobbies?
I enjoy reading. Finding the time is always difficult, but now I am finding the time, just because it's just great to sit down with a good book, curl up next to the wood stove or at the beach in the summer.
Now that sounds good.
Yeah.
And is there a book in particular you'd recommend?
I've been reading the Janet Ivanovich series. In fact, they just made a movie out of One for the Money, Two for the Dough. There's, I think, 13 of them, so I have quite a few more to read through, but I thoroughly enjoy her books.
You recommend it?
Yes.
That's good to hear. I know you're a runner also.
Oh, yes.
How long have you been running?
Actually, I started running at the age of 46. I had never done any running, but I've watched the Boston Marathon my whole life. Living in Hopkinton, it runs right by my house. And it's one of those things that you just want to do if you've grown up and seen it as a Hopkintonian. And a lot of friends and people that I grew up with have run it. So I finally said, I better hurry up and do this before I'm too old. And I trained with Mary and Sharon from the Respite Center. And I ran 4 Boston marathons to raise money for charity.
Wow.
And it was awesome.
Every time? Awesome?
Awesome. Yeah, well, the last time was 88 degrees and quite warm. We didn't finish. So I felt like I would like to do one more. I'm not sure that I ever will, because there's a huge time commitment in order to train for it. and I'm not sure that I'd be able to find that time. But it's so different from the inside running it and looking out than it is watching it from the sidelines. Something I would recommend to anyone. And you don't have to be a gifted runner or a gifted athlete. If you train hard enough and you want something hard enough, you can do it.
What is one of your favorite memories of one of the marathons, or your first one?
I was going to say the first one was the most memorable, just because it's the first time you've done it. Crossing the finish line.
There, yeah.
Yeah. And then actually it was neat because Barbara Sacuso was at the finish line and was calling our names out as we're coming down. And to hear your name getting called is just incredible. So, each one is fun, but the first one was definitely the neatest.
Yeah. Well, it's quite a feat to train for it as well. A lot of people don't think about the amount of time and effort and physical endurance and exertion for that.
And we raised a lot of money for charity, which
and that was for the Listen Center?
Yes, that was the whole purpose, and it was great.
Wow, that's wonderful. Congratulations. Do you have any advice for someone who might be interested in considering it?
Go for it. If I can do it, you can do it.
All right. How about any other passions or hobbies? I think you mentioned stained glass.
Yes, I used to make stained glass. Skippy Gillum, a local gentleman, taught the whole family. We sat around the table, my father, my mother, all my sisters, my husband, who was my fiance at the time, and he taught us how to do stained glass. And we made little window ornaments, as well as lamps.
Wow.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's something I'd like to pass on to my kids, teach them. I still have all the glass and all the equipment, so I hope to someday teach them. But I haven't done it in many, many years. But the first time we all exhibited at PolyArts, way back when you weren't allowed to sell anything, it was to showcase what your talents were, and that was one of the things I enjoyed doing.
Contribution.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to have missed that. I hope to see that back at some point too. So I was wondering, any little piece of information, sometimes I ask this in interviewing, people don't usually know about you, that's kind of fun or interesting to know?
Wow, something I can tell you that my children...
That's right, yes. That won't be a problem with anyone.
Wow. I feel like people really know me
know
more than I know them.
All these years of being here.
A lot of public exposure.
How about your favorite food? You work around food all these years. A favorite meal?
Lobster would definitely be my favorite meal.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, maybe we need a lobster tank.
Yeah. That's one thing we did look at.
Really?
Yeah, we did. Very expensive.
Yeah, sure. That's right. We don't have them right around here, like at the state park.
Yeah.
I often see you with a smile on your face in this store, and I was wondering how you stay positive-minded when I do see you in your daily life. What is something that helps to steer you in that way?
Well, I think because I enjoy what I'm doing. If I didn't, I don't think I could stay as positive. I'm passionate about my work. I think we do a good job, and I enjoy it. So it's easy to stay positive if you enjoy what you're doing.
Wow, that's good to hear. And that's
meet a lot of nice people. Hear a lot of stories. It's fun.
Well, that's good to hear. I think good advice for anyone thinking about life. Make the most of it.
Yep, exactly. You might not be a millionaire in your job, but if you enjoy what you're doing, that's all that matters.
It's good to hear. How about your hope for our community, where we're moving on to?
Well, I hope that we don't grow too large, that neighbors don't know neighbors. I think if I've heard the numbers correctly, 19,000 will be about the most that the town will have for a population, and that's fine. 3,500 was nice growing up, but you can't leave things as is forever. And I think we've done a good job of growing. The neighborhoods, the developments that have been put in are beautiful, a testament to the people that built them. So if we grow to 19,000, so be it.
And how about your hope for the world?
Wow, I would love to see world peace. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
I would love to see this economy turn around in less than the next 5 years. You know, I'd love to see it in the next 2 years. I guess it depends on who's elected as president. But we deserve a break. I think that people need to go back to work, and the economy needs to move forward. A lot of countries are falling on their face at harder times than we are, and I think we can do it with the proper leadership, and people getting back to work will be phenomenal.
Thank you for your time and your thoughtful responses today. And,
Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with me.
my pleasure.
I'm Dr. Pamela Weinfeld.
I'm Dr. Louis Kushner.
Our skin is the largest organ in our body and serves many functions, including protection, shock absorption, and temperature control. It's also subject to many disorders and diseases.
Today, about 1 in 3 people suffer from skin ailments resulting in pain, disfigurement, or disability.
The most serious of these conditions is melanoma, a potentially deadly skin cancer that affects some 115,000 people each year. Its incidence continues to rise, but the good news is that if detected early, melanoma is highly curable.
Recognizing changes in your skin is the best way to detect melanoma, so examine your skin regularly. If you notice changes in a mole or other unusual conditions, contact your primary care provider.
Avoiding excessive exposure to the ultraviolet rays of the sun is the most important step you can take to prevent skin cancer. Using sunscreen, wearing protective clothing, and avoiding tanning beds are important preventive measures.
For more information on skin cancer and skin disease, visit skincarephysicians.com.